Okay, guys, this unit is called rationals. And when you graph a rational, it's going to come out looking like this. Rational means a fraction. So today, or this unit, you're going to be seeing stuff that looks like this. Y is equal to 1 over x. And your graph will look similar to what we have on the screen. Okay, so let's talk about asymptotes. Do you guys remember what the definition of an asymptote is? Perfect, that's what it is. An asymptote is a line that it gets close to, but it does not touch. So guys, where do you think the vertical asymptote is in this graph? 5, very good. Everyone draw a vertical asymptote. This is the vertical line that our graph gets very close to, but doesn't touch. So let's look at this side. It goes from negative infinity and it gets close. It gets close to 5, but it doesn't touch it. It starts to go down. And then here it starts at 5 and then it goes off to the right. So both sides get close to 5, but never touch. What we're going to put the vertical asymptote is at 5. The line we just drew, did it cross the x-axis or the y-axis? Yes, so this is the x-axis at 5. So you're going to put x equals 5. That is where the vertical asymptote is. Any type of vertical line you draw, it crosses the x-axis. So any type of vertical, it'll always be x equals. Vertical lines have the equation x equals. All right, let's do the next one. Now we're going to do horizontal. Looking at your graph, where is the horizontal line that it will not touch? Yep, right here. Everyone draw it. This is the line that both pictures get close to. It gets close, but it doesn't touch. This right here, it gets close, but it doesn't touch. Okay, so that is at what axis did we cross, x or y? Y where? The line we just drew, where did it cross the y-axis? 0. This is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It crossed at 0. So we're going to put y equals 0. Okay, looking at our picture here, do we have any holes? Do y'all see a hole in the graph? Yes or no? Do you see a hole? It's right here. This is a hole. Okay, what is the coordinate of that hole? 3, negative 0.5, perfect. Okay. All right, the rest we know how to do. X-intercept. This is the x-axis. Will my graph touch the x-axis? No, why not? Yep, because there's an asymptote here. The definition of an asymptote means you can't touch it. So for x-intercept, there are none. Does it cross the y-axis anywhere? It does. It crosses right here. It's a little bit below 0. So do y'all want to give me an estimate? Negative what? 0.2? Perfect, I'll take it. This was just an estimate. It's really close to 0. It's a little bit below it. So I just estimated it at negative 0.2. Okay, let's talk about the domain. Everyone write this down. To find the domain, you look at the graph from left to right. That is how you find the domain. So let's look at this graph that I have. Guys, I'm going to just pay attention to one picture at a time. Let's just pay attention to the first curve. Okay, let's just pay attention to this one down here. Here's the left side. What is it pointing to? Negative infinity. So everyone, for the domain, put negative infinity. And let's follow the line. It starts on this side and it goes this way. What does it get close to? It gets close to 5. Does it go past the 5? No. So it goes from negative infinity to 5. That is the first part. Now we're going to continue. Everyone put a union symbol. We call this the union symbol. It means and in math. So the domain goes from negative infinity to 5. And let's look at the next part. Now I'm going to pay attention to this graph. Let's look at this one now. I'm going to ignore this one. It starts here. Where is it starting at? What number is this? So it starts at 5 and it goes off to the right towards what? Infinity. So we're going to put 5 to infinity. That's how you write the domain. Okay, now let's try the range. Everyone write this down. Range, you start at the bottom and then you go to the top. So let's focus on the bottom part of the graph first. I'm going to scribble out this top one. Let's just start at the bottom. Here's the bottom. What is it pointing at? Yep, so I'm going to put negative infinity. And let's follow the highlighter. It starts from negative infinity and it's going up to what? What is it getting close to? 0. So we're going to put 0. And then it continues, so put the union symbol. Now we're going to look at this top graph. Okay, here's the bottom. Where is it at? 0. So I'm going to put union 0. And it goes up to infinity. So let me write that. 0 to infinity. Okay, we're almost done. We're not quite finished with domain and range. Because I have a hole. What was the coordinate of this hole? What did we say? 3 comma what? Negative 0.5. Okay, this is the x value. This is the y value of the hole. Thumbs up if that part makes sense. Okay, this is just the coordinate of this hole. 3 and negative 0.5. For your domain, you cannot, x cannot be 3 because there's a hole at 3. In your graph, you have a hole when the x value is 3. So for your domain, you also need to put x cannot be 3. So just put a slash through the equal sign. Okay, what do you think we're going to do for the range? Right, y cannot be negative 0.5 because that y value is a hole. Now we're done with the domain and range. Okay, if you have a hole, you cannot equal the hole. All right, let's do another example. Here we go. X-intercept, do we have one? Right here. X-intercept is at negative 3. So negative 3, 0. Y-intercept is right here. What's that? Negative 1.5, thank you. Okay, vertical asymptote. I'm going to draw it. Do y'all see where it is? I need a vertical line. Where's the vertical asymptote? Yep, negative 2. Everyone draw it. This is the vertical asymptote. That crosses the x-axis at negative 2. So I'm going to put x equals negative 2. Okay, now let's move on to the horizontal one. I'm going to draw the horizontal one this time. Horizontal, where is it? Yep, right here. This is the line that both sides get close to but doesn't cross. That crossed the y-axis at negative 1. So I'm going to put y equals negative 1. Do y'all see any holes in this graph? Okay, so just put none. There's no holes. Okay, let's look at the domain and the range. Remember, domain is left to right. Left to right. So let's just look at the left part first. I'm going to scribble this part out. Don't focus on that. Just look on the left side. What is it pointing towards? You can draw arrows here. What is it pointing at on the left? negative infinity. And on the right, it goes to, does it pass -2? Nope, it stays on the left of -2. So it goes to -2, but it doesn't go past it. Okay, so that was one side. Now we can do the other. Okay. Again, it's getting very close to -2. So I'm going to put -2 here. And on the right side, it gets close to -2 and then it goes off to the right to infinity. I'm completely done with the domain because there's no holes. All right, now let's do the range. Range is bottom to top. Bottom to top. So I'm going to focus on this bottom part first. So we don't have to worry about this one yet. Let's look at the bottom one. I'm going to put arrows. Okay, this is going down to what? Negative infinity. And the top, does it go past here? Yep, because that's your asymptote. So we're going to put -1. Then it continues -1 and it goes off to infinity. Because this other one, it starts down here at -1 and then it goes up to infinity. Okay, this one goes from -1 and it goes up. So -1 to infinity. Okay, if you turn to your practice on the next page, you're going to see this example. I'm going to walk you through this because it's not as hard as it looks. You guys can answer whether there's x-intercepts or y-intercepts. Can you guys tell me how many vertical asymptotes do you see? How many vertical lines can you draw? Okay, where are they? -1 is one of the vertical lines. If I draw one at 0, it crosses a graph right here. So that can't be an asymptote. Good, I'll just make it simple and put 2. I can see why you said 1.5. I'm just going to put 2. So those are your two vertical asymptotes. Go ahead and write what they are. They cross the x-axis at -1 and at +2. Those were your vertical asymptotes. Okay. Now let's talk about horizontal asymptotes. Horizontal asymptotes. Can you draw any horizontal line where it doesn't cross any of the graphs? Can I draw one here? Nope, because it crosses this line. Okay, so can I draw any horizontal line where it doesn't touch anything? Okay, so that means there are no horizontal asymptotes. I'm going to put none. Remember, the definition of an asymptote is that it doesn't touch the graph at all. Do y'all see any holes? Okay, so I'm going to put none again. There's no holes. All right, let's talk about the domain and the range. Okay, remember domain, you start on the left and then you move to the right. So let's do that. I'm just going to start on the left. Here's -infinity. And where does it go to? This first graph. Don't pay attention to those. Yep, it goes to -1. So the domain is -infinity to -1. All right, let's start the rest. Now I'm going to look at the middle one. You move left to right. Okay, we said there was an asymptote here and here. So guys, what's on the left? -1. On the right is a 2. Okay, next one. This one goes from 2 to infinity. 2 to infinity. And that's it. Your range is all real numbers because we didn't have a horizontal asymptote. Okay. All of these y values are represented. All these y values are represented. All of these y values are represented. The range is all real numbers because we didn't have a horizontal asymptote. Okay, I'm gonna let you guys answer x-intercept and y-intercept. Do that on your own. Look up to see if you got it right.